everyone, good evening. Welcome to the Teach Your Child to Read Challenge 3.0. My name is Precious, and I'm so excited to have each and every one of you join me for this session. So, if you're here now, I would like to see you in the comment section. Please let us know where you're joining this session from, and also let me know the platform you're streaming from. Are you streaming from Facebook, the Facebook community, or from YouTube? We're going to use the next couple of minutes for some housekeeping. Let me get to meet you all. Welcome. First of all, if you can't hear me, please let me see you in the comment section. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm trying to also confirm that from my end as well. We're going to use the next couple of minutes. Okay. So I'm loud and clear. So hi. Welcome to the Teach Your Child to Read Challenge. If you're in any of the groups, please help us inform them that we are live and ready to roll. And if you're here, let me know where you're watching this stream from. My name is Precious, and I am streaming from the beautiful city of Uyo. Where are you watching this session from? This is the Teach Your Child to Read Challenge 3.0. So I can see 7 of you live with us already. That is beautiful. Welcome. Hi, Winifred. Welcome. Hi, Winifred. Welcome to the Teach Your Child to Read Challenge 3.0. Super excited to have you. If I get 2 more introductions, will get this ball rolling. I don't intend to keep us here longer than necessary. As soon as we come on live, we get straight to the point and we move. Hi, Chidima. Good evening. Welcome. Hi, Udoka. This challenge is about to be an exciting experience for everyone. Hi, Udoka. Welcome. So if you're here, please take a screenshot and send to the Teach Your Child to Read 3.0 group. Let everyone know that we are here and we are live. All right, please help me take a screenshot and send to the groups as well, so they know that we are here and we are live. So while we wait for other people to join, my name is Precious and I'll be your host. Hi, Maureen. Maureen Afam is from Port Harcourt. Hi, it's Port Harcourt City this evening. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining the Teach Your Child to Read 3.0. I'm super excited because of what we will be learning in the next 45 to 1 hour. So before I move to introducing myself and who I am, let me quickly mention that this challenge is going to be for 5 days. For day 1, we've opened it up to everybody. Hi, Olainka Akisoya. Welcome from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. So please help me share to the Learned Parent Support Group as well. Help me share to the wait list. I guess you are there. Also share to the free masterclass group as well. So today we'll be looking at an introduction to teaching children to read. We're going to look at a general overview of what teaching children to read would involve and would entail. We're just going to look at it wholesomely. We're not looking at direct details today, but we're going to lay a foundation that whether you are an educator, because I know I have educators here, I have school owners here, I also have parents here, I have guardians here, I have young educators who are just getting started in early childhood education. So whether you're a young educator, you're a parent who knows zilch, you don't know nothing about teaching children to read, the aim of today's class is to lay a pedestal. It's to lay a foundation that we all, by the time we come back tomorrow, we are all at the same base. Then tomorrow, we're going to look at, hi, Ijoma from the UK. Welcome. Hi, Auntie Samira. Welcome too. Now, what we're going to be doing today is to look at an introduction to teaching children to read. By day 2, we'll now move to learning the letter sounds, because trust me, you can't teach anybody to read without knowing your letter sounds, like you know your name. So knowing the letter sounds, the 44 letter sounds, have to be your second name if you're going to be able to teach any child or any adult to read. By day 3, we would move further to looking at blending, segmentation, and building phonemic awareness. Now, at day 3 will be the end of the beginner section, because in this year's Teach Your Child to Read, we've divided it into beginner readers and intermediate readers. So day 4 will now look at alternative sounds and advanced reading 1. By day 2, we'll now look at fluency and comprehension. Now, I was able to break this down based off of the feedback I got from the group today. Those of you that are in the paid group, those of you that are there, you've told me, someone said my child can read, they can blend 3-letter words, but I want them to start blending with diagrams. Someone said my child can read. Some of you have even sent me your complaints personally. So this challenge is designed in such a way. I call it a first of its kind challenge, designed specifically for parents. Most phonics programs target educators, but this challenge is targeted towards educators and parents as well. Hi, Peace. Thank you so much. Welcome. So let's move to who I am. For those of you who are just meeting me for the first time, my name is Precious. I'm an award-winning educator, over a decade of experience teaching children. I started in my mom's crèche way back in 2013. I'm a certified synthetic phonics educator. I have done this for quite a while, since 2017. I'm the founding director of Lenview Preparatory Schools here in Uyo, one of the sweetest schools your child could ever be in. I just received a review from my parent before I came on live, and yeah, we do know what we do. I'm the founder of Learn Age, under which umbrella we're hosting this challenge. I'm a team member at the Foremost Parenting Academy in Africa. That is the Intentional Parent Academy. This challenge has gotten to over 500 parents, but my resources around teaching children to read has probably gotten to over 1,000 parents at this time. Before the launch of this course, I released my book, The ABCs of Teaching Your Child to Read. As of today, we've done over 350 downloads. I have hosted free classes, paid classes. Just on Tuesday, I hosted another class. That class has done over 400 views as of today. So this concept, this framework I've been able to create with my wealth of experience has reached way over 1,000 parents. So you are definitely in luck. And with being modest, I would say that I've helped close to 500 children, if not over 500 children. But of course, let me be modest. I've helped close to 500 children learn to read. So if there's any educator you should be learning to teach your child to read from, I definitely am one. I am definitely that educator. So let's continue. Let's move to the next slide. Now let's look at this food for thought. 1 second, please. I should have this slide come up. So let me pull up this slide. Okay, should have. Okay, I should have my slide 3 come up, but it is not coming up. But what that slide, let me remove this and add it again. Let's see where the issue is coming from. My sincere apologies. So let me remove this and add the slide again. I really want you guys to see that as I lay a foundation for this session. Okay, slide 1, 2, 3. The 3 is not popping up. That's fine. So let's start with looking at this quote by Dr. Martin Kozlov. Now, this quote is one of the most popular quotes out there on teaching children to read. He says that if a child memorized 10 words, that child will only be able to read 10 words. But if a child learns the sound of 10 letters, this child who has learned the sound of 10 letters, let's even this child has learned the sound of A to the 10th letter of the alphabet. This child, to a large extent, will be able to read 350 three-letter sounds, 4,324 sound words, 21,655 sound words, just by learning 10 letter sounds. But if a child is only able to read 10 words, that is it for them. This lends credence to the amazing world of opportunity that we are able to open to children when it has to do with reading, if we introduce it using the synthetic phonics methodology. Now, another food for thought I wanted to share, but that slide is not coming up, says that living in a foreign land may teach a child the local dialect in a few years. So let's assume that I have a 3-year-old and we relocate to a country that the first language isn't English. Yeah, let's assume we move to China and it's the Chinese language, the Mandarin that they speak. It would just take that child about 3 to 5 years and the child would start speaking that dialect. It would just take that child about 3 to 5 years. The child starts going ching chong, chai chong, just as if they are Chinese. But if you keep a child in a library for 10 years, if you come back, that child will not be able to read. The reason is simple. Reading is a learned skill. Now, I want to see it in the comment section. If you take a child can learn a language by simply getting involved in the environment where that language is being spoken. A child can learn the Igbo dialect, even if they are not originally from the Igbo tribe, if they are in an environment where that dialect is exposed to them. But if you keep a child in a library for 10 years, you will come back, that child will not be able to read. The reason is simple. This child is not able to read because reading is a learned skill. Now, let me see you in the comment section with this. Reading is a learned skill. Reading is not a skill children pick up by using the whole language method. Remember this quote that's on the screen by Dr. Martin Kozlov, where he says that if a child memorizes 10 words, they will only be able to read 10 words. But if a child is taught my 3-step framework of teaching children to read, we start with building their phonemic awareness, teaching the letter sounds using a multisensory approach, then lastly ending with blending and segmentation. This child will be able to read 350 letters and words, 353 sound words, that's like that, 4,324 sound words, like boat, like coat, 21,655 sound words, just by knowing their sounds. So what you are learning works. What you are learning works. It doesn't just work for educators, it works for everyone. What you are learning works, and it works for everyone. Now, this is one thing that I learned sometime in 2020 that made me carry on the campaign of early reading in children. Do you know that early reading has been found to correspond with higher intelligence through life? Now, I'm looking at my notes, and there's a research here from researchers Teacher, Bates, and Plumbing. These guys found that young children with strong reading skills early in life perform better in IQ tests I would explain some brain science and why this happens to you in a bit. Now, this study looked at the reading skills and intelligence levels of about 1,890 pairs of identical twins. Now, studying these twins allowed the researchers to set aside genetic and environmental factors, since the twins share the same gene and grew up in the same environment. Their study found that twins that had better early reading ability compared to their identical twin tended to not only have better reading as subsequent measurements, but also higher scores on general intelligence tests. So even between twins, the sibling who is a better reader at an early age would grow up to have higher intelligence levels. Now, isn't this a reason why you should start teaching your 1-year-old to read from now? Now, even beyond the importance and the benefit and advantages of reading to your child's intelligence quotient, it also impacts their critical reasoning, it impacts their ability to focus, it impacts their ability to concentrate, it impacts their ability to consolidate and retain information. Now, what happens in the brain and why does something as simple as reading, don't we all read? Now, why does something as simple as reading have this enormous advantage and benefit to these kids that started reading early? Now, young children thrive on mental stimulation from birth. Now, our brains are designed for growth and development. This is why the brain of an individual doesn't stop growing till they are up to the age of 25. In fact, the part of the brain in charge of reasoning and critical thinking, which is the prefrontal cortex, doesn't reach its full maturation till a child is 25. So most times when children are born, they are born with as much as 200 billion neurons. Now, for an information or a skill to be consolidated, these neurons must be strengthened. Now, when these neurons are in the brain and nothing is done with them, guess what happens? It gets to a stage by the second decade of life, close to the second decade, from 8, the brain begins to do something called pruning. So remember, this child is born with over 200 billion neurons in the brain. Now, if you don't get that child's brain engaged early, guess what happens? At a point, they begin to lose those neurons. So let's take for instance, a child is born and all you expose them to is music. All that child does is music. All they learn is music. You're not engaging them in any communication art. So you're not speaking to the child. You're not working on their creativity. You're not working on their emotional intelligence, because every damn thing is traced to the brain. Guess what happens? That part of the brain in charge of that musical prowess would get enlarged. And the other part of the brain that the child is not using will be pruned at a point, at least from age 8. This is why we scream that the first 5 to 7 years of a child's lives are the formative years. This is why we scream that if we're going to develop lifelong learning in children, we do it within the first 5 to 7 years of their lives. If you checked my status yesterday, I posted that one of the reasons why parents run helter-skelter from one lesson teacher to another is because they wasted the first 5 to 7 years of their children's lives when there were enough neurons that would have enabled them consolidate learning. Any skill you expose to a child early, they gain prowess in those skills. This is why sports people, athletes who are exposed to sports or music or any skill from childhood, this is the reason why they excel so well. We're talking the likes of Michael Jackson. We're talking the likes of Tiger Woods. We're talking the likes of the Serena sisters. So any skill you want to foster in your child, the first 7 years are like a gold mine for you to do everything, because the brain is in a malleable stage. It's like a rubber band. It's able to stretch to the width to which you stretch it. So imagine if you were able to introduce reading to your child when they have all these neurons available and the brain has not started pruning. You're not just unlocking reading skills. I want us to see that reading doesn't just unlock your child's ability to read and comprehend. No, that's not just it. It's affecting their brain. It's affecting their brain. By the time a child is in age 10, they would have lost like a half of the neurons that they were born with. This is the only reason why I shout, parents, get involved. Get involved. There are things you can do. In fact, sometime in July or August, I'll be going to do a webinar on how you can lay a lifelong learning experience for your child. I have overflogged this matter for too long, but this is just to show you that what we're doing here has far-reaching consequences. So it's not just getting your child to do but to know, it's helping their brain. This was the information I got in 2020, that even if my daughter didn't have any speech, I started. And best believe that I have seen far-reaching benefits than even have been able to decode words. If you're with me, let me see you in the comment section. If you're getting value already, let me see you in the comment section. Now, let's move to understanding how reading works. Let's move to understanding what happens in this thing called reading. Remember, we said that if you leave a child in the library for 10 years, you will come back, they won't be able to read zilch. Why? Because learning to read is a learned skill. Now, reading is essentially learning code. Reading is essentially learning a code. Now, this is time for us to interact. What do you guys think we use codes for? I want to see you in the comment section. What do we use codes for? Think about it. Off my head, I know I use codes to unlock my phone. So codes, passwords. So use them interchangeably. Now, in your own personal life, what do you use codes for? Personally, I use codes to unlock my phone. So let me hear from you. If I get 3 responses from 3 participants, we move. What do we use codes for? What do we use codes for? Yes, Healthy and Wealthy Living with V says that any skill you expose a child early, they gain progress at it. Yes. What do we use codes for? Thank you. Esther says she's getting value. Thank you for that feedback. So what do we use codes for? What do we use codes for? What do we use codes for? While I wait for your comments, so I'm sure that I'm not speaking to myself. Codes are used to communicate. Fantastic. Codes are used to communicate. Yes, in certain professions, they have like secret codes that they use to pass on information. That's beautiful. 2 more responses and we move. 2 more responses and we move. What do we use codes for? We use codes to unlock our phones. We use codes to communicate. What do we use codes for? We use codes to prevent other people from trespassing. Fantastic. We use codes in our ATMs. The passwords you're to, what's it called? The passwords you're to impute. That we also use codes for that. We use codes for giving out information. Okay. We use codes to lock something. Thank you, Esther. We use codes to lock something. Now, imagine a scenario where you no longer know the code of a thing. For instance, you don't know the code. You use codes to conceal information. Fantastic. Thank you, Auntie Samira. Now, imagine a situation where you don't know the code of a thing. Imagine a situation. where you don't know the code of a thing. Thank you, Neka. Imagine that this webinar is holding on Zoom. And if you're familiar with the Zoom platform, you know that you need code. Most times you need codes like to get into the Zoom training room. Now imagine if you don't have the code to a particular thing. What would happen? The first thing you will try to do is to hack your way around it. You try to use the wrong codes. You try to remember the one you forgot. Even your Facebook, you have codes for them. Imagine if I forget the password of my YouTube. We won't be here. I will be trying to hack it. This is the same reason why I'm asking this question is to say this, that the reason why we struggle with teaching children to read is because we do not understand that we need codes to read. Learning to read is basically understanding that there are codes. So a child would not be able to read if they do not know the codes for reading. This is why we say, okay, let's continue. The letters we use, example A to Z, are simply symbols or written codes for the speech sounds of English. Now, the foundation of learning to read is simply understanding what these codes are and how these codes apply to reading. For instance, the foundation of learning to read is simply knowing the relationship between the alphabet, A to Z, and the speech sounds, ABK, to the 44 of them. Now, understanding this letter sound correspondence between the letter names and the letter sounds helps us crack the code of reading. This is why we say reading involves decoding and encoding. To decode simply means to read. To encode means to spell. In the context of reading. So reading involves your ability, a child's ability. Remember that what I'm teaching you is not just for children. It would apply to an adult who is struggling to read as well. So the simple hack or the simple secret of teaching children to read is basically them understanding the codes of the English language and understanding that the letter representations they see have further meanings. Their simple ability to understand that the letters they see have further meanings. While we hold that thought, let's even look at why I say that learning to read is a learned skill. It's not a hacked skill. If a person hacks the ability to read, somewhere along the line, the repercussions will come back. They will get to struggle. Learning to read is a crucial milestone in a child's development. And as parents, we delve into the common mistakes that parents make when teaching children to read. And that common mistake is that we expect children to read using the whole language methodology. This whole language methodology is where we just go, for example, the word Y, W-H-Y, Y, W-H-Y. And your child is not able to decode another word that looks like W-H-Y. Why does this happen? Because they learn to read using a faulty perspective, which is the whole language method. Now, learning to read is essentially learning the code. We talked about that. Now, the English language is one of the most complex languages to learn to read. Unlike other languages, the English language has an inconsistent letter sound correspondence. To make this easy for you, how many letters do we have in the English alphabet? Simple, 26. Everybody knows it. A to Z. But when it has to do with reading, it doesn't work like that. The complexity of reading for early young readers or beginning readers is this lack of consistency between the letters and the sounds. Can somebody explain why we have 26 letters? But in these same 26 letters, we have 44 sounds. But these 26 letters have these 44 sounds have only 26 letter names or letter representations. This inconsistency is the number one place that confusion starts for any child. Because you're able to teach that child that today, that A says ah. And the child runs with it. A says ah, A says ah. and they come across a word, and a lot of these educational material designers don't even make it easy for us educators, because you come across like all those word charts that they sell in the market, and what you're seeing is A for aeroplane. But we've taught this child that A says A for apple, or A for all in always. Do you see that inconsistency? This is the root of the challenge. If your child is struggling to read, for those of us that have intermediate readers, this is where the problem is. Remember, I told you that learning to read is like learning a set of codes. It's simply like learning a set of codes. So what we're going to be doing in this challenge is to decode it for you, so you understand how to approach different letter sound presentations or different word pattern presentations. This at its core is what we're going to be doing. Now let's look at this, what we have on our screen now. It says that, for instance, in the Spanish language, once children learn their sounds, it is associated with each letter. So in the Spanish language, you don't have these occasions where, for instance, we have a word like through, Through. A child has learned t, ha, but in the word, the t and ha are hidden. What they now have is th. They have then the OUGH that ends the word. They've learned in through that it says ooh. But they come across another word that spells OUGH. And it moves from through OUGH to OUGHT, and it goes up. And this child is still confused. Didn't I just learn that OUGH was ooh in through? How managed it is ought in ought now? And this is the inconsistency that happens across so many other words that have OUGH. This right here is the complexity of the English language. And because of this complexity, we will have to follow a more systematic approach to teaching any child to read. Now, this is what we have on the screen. The alphabets. We have the uppercase A and the lowercase a. I always love to introduce the alphabet to intermediate learners as this. That this letter they are seeing on the screen now is just a picture. It's just what? It's just a picture. I asked this question on Tuesday. Nobody was able to give me the answer. And I would like to ask again, because I know that I have very smart people. Like Auntie Samira is smart, Winifred is smart, Jamila is smart. Ijoma is smartest, Healthy Living with V is smartest, Esther is smart. So with your smartness, can you guys tell me, what else do we do with the English language? What else do we do with the English language? Can someone answer? What else do we do with not the English language, I'm sorry for that, do we do with letter representations, alphabet A? Apart from them being graphical illustrations on text, we see them, we know, we are able to identify what other roles do they play in reading. The reason I'm asking this question is because if you're going to take care of that confusion of the letter sound correspondence for intermediate learners, you would have to introduce alphabets like this. Because a lot of times, before the advent of the synthetic phonics program, we taught children to read using the whole language method. This is why the rate of literacy is lower in the adult generation that learned to read using the whole language method. I'm still waiting for my answers. What else do we do with alphabet apart from just visual representations on text? So personally, I love to introduce alphabets as simply pictures. Pictures that say two things: names and sounds. So for every alphabet they see, for each of the 26 alphabets, they are only pictures. So they are just there for us to be able to identify that, oh, this is A. That's just the role it plays. What we then use in reading are sounds. So this leads me to say that every letter has two things. Every letter has two things. They have their letter names, which is what you have on the board, A. And they have their letter sounds, A. They have two things. Let me see it in the comments. They have two things. They have their letter names, A, and they have their letter sounds, A. And now for older readers or intermediate readers, we also introduce to them that even this letter A doesn't just make A, that it has two sounds. We have the long vowel sound and we have the short vowel sound. And even this letter A could have an alternative. And even this letter A can combine with another letter, whether it's a consonant like Y to give off the A sound, or a vowel like what does A also? AI to also give off the A sound, which is a diagram. So to introduce reading to intermediate learners, we want to go back to establish the role that alphabets play. If not, in my book, ABCs of Teaching Your Child to Read, I mentioned that if we do not do this, this will happen. Where you give off a word to a child, for instance, the word hello. And from hearing it, the child is able to tell that the first sound in hello is but because they have not learned that what they use in reading is their sounds, they start trying to pronounce that word with the letter name H. And if you know anything about reading, you know that the letter names play no role at all. So in all of these things I'm saying, I'm trying to simply establish the fact that alphabets are just pictures. What children need to read are their sounds. I'm going to say it again. Alphabets are just pictures. What children need to read. Hi everyone, so sorry I was booted out for a second. Please let me know if you can hear me now. I was booted out for a second. I think my network got interrupted, but I'm back. So let me know if you can hear me now. Sincere apologies for that. I'm back now. So please let me know if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. Just give me something so I know you can all hear me now. I am back like I never left. Like I never left. Like I never left. So please, can Esther let me know? Can Oluwatomi let me know? Okay, thank you, Ole. Ole says that she can hear me now. So we're back. Thank you. So we'll move back to what we were looking at. I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So we've just established now the role of letter names and the role that letter names play. So you want to go back and begin re-emphasizing the emphasis that we have placed on letter names, to begin to explain that what they actually need to read are sounds, not names. Let's move on quickly. In an English alphabetic system, this is to further emphasize what I've just said in the last slide. In an English alphabetic system, the individual letters on the page are keyword, abstract, and meaningless in themselves. So A, B, C, that we are always chanting. So if you have a less than a 1 year old here, they have no business learning their alphabet till 3.5. 3 years, 3.5. So you see the alphabet individual letters that we are chanting, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, It is abstract and meaningless in themselves. For them to have meaning, they must be linked to sounds for them to have meanings. Now, of course, in reading, in writing, of course, they have meanings. But in reading, individual letters in themselves have no single meaning. In reading, let me say it again. In reading, individual letters in themselves have no meaning, except if they are linked to equally abstract sounds called phonemes, and they are then blended together, then pronounced as words. That is where they have meaning. So if these English words have no meaning, why are we emphasizing and re-emphasizing letter names to young children? I still don't understand this till today. Now, I have a young school, and when we started, when I took statistics of the pupils we have, I found that all of them in early years already knew their letters. Their parents had already studied at home. So I had to now not just introduce the alphabet, but we now introduced it together. Alphabets and sounds. We're going to talk about it. If you were here on Tuesday, you would understand what I'm saying now. If you were not here on Tuesday, I would send the replay to the Teach Your Child to Read 3.0 group so you would understand what I'm saying. So if you've already introduced alphabets to your children, that is their A's to Z's, you want to now bring the concept of alphabets being pictures, and they have two things, a name and a sound. And of course, what do we use to read? We use sounds to read. Now, to learn to read English, the child must be able to figure out the relationship between the sounds and the letters. The reason why there's a complexity in learning to read is because of the inconsistency between the letter sound correspondence. But if a child is going to learn to read, they must learn the relationship between the letters and their sounds. And they must learn to connect the 44 phonemes or sounds in the English language to the 26 letters of the alphabet. If a child will be able to read, they must be able to connect. They must be able to connect the sounds of the spoken English and the letters. Why? Because it is through these letters that they are able to decode. Now, letters are abstract, they are meaningless, but they play a role. The only reason I'm able to read what I have on my screen now is simply because there are letters on there, and I'm able to understand consciously or unconsciously whether I went through a synthetic phonics program or I didn't. Over the years, and because of maturity, I've been able to deduce the relationship between the 26 letters and the 44 sounds of the English language. Now, in order for beginning readers to learn how to read, they must be able to connect the letters and the sounds they make. Now, we have this example on the screen. The word on the screen says watch, watch, watch. But the letter names that a lot of children know are WATCH. Now, to re-emphasize that thing we said that these letters have no meaning. To re-emphasize this thing we said that these letters have no meaning. Can someone explain to me, my intelligent people, Peace, Ijoma, and the rest of you, how does WATCH equate to what? And how does W or Ch equate to what? Which of these two things gave you what just by listening? WATCH or W or Ch? W or Ch. Of course, the letter sounds give you this relationship even without knowing them. This will take me to the next word, bridge. How does B, R, I, D, G, E give us bridge? B, R, I. B, R, I. There's no way it's linking. But if a child is to use their sounds, B, R, E, J, B, R, E, J. Just by listening to this, the child doesn't even need to know how to decode. Just by listening, the child will tell you that it's B, E, J that gives them bridge rather than B, R, I, D, G, E. So if any child is struggling with reading, this is the first place you want to check. If any child is struggling with reading, this is the first place you want to check. Do they understand the letter sound correspondence? Do they understand it for single letter sounds? Do they understand it for consonant blends or consonant clusters? Do they understand it for digraphs? Do they understand it for trigraphs, like what we have here, DGE giving J, B, giving bro, which is a consonant, a consonant cluster. This will take us to the next word, R, A, A child must understand the correspondence between rather than RUN. We're going to be talking about what I'm about to say in day 3, but I want you to know that learning to read is first a listening skill before it's a decoding skill. Before a child gets into the business of learning to read. Thank you guys for responding in the comments. I love it. Big ups to the 25 of you. Please help me send to the groups again that the class is getting really hot. You could take a screenshot of this cute graphic I have on the screen. And yes, all of you who joined the challenge will be having close to 50 of these flashcards in a drive for you, so you could use it to teach your child to read at home. So I'm not just giving you the skills, I'm giving you the materials and the resources that you can use to teach your child to read. And this is a good place to say that for those of us who are here and didn't pay for the challenge, we usually do the introductory class because we want to help parents. We genuinely want to help parents. But tomorrow, this will now be enclosed to the over 60 parents or 60 parents and above who paid for this class. So if you didn't pay for this class, there's a detail scrolling on your screen. Simply make payment and send your proof of payment through the details scrolling on your screen to WhatsApp, and we'll onboard you immediately. Only these guys will be able to get the remainder of the classes. Remember, this is just an introduction. So if you've not joined the challenge, I don't know what you're waiting for. This is a fantastic time to join the challenge. All right, so let's continue. So for children to be able to read, they must be able to understand letter sound correspondence. This is where the confusion starts at first. They must understand the letter sound correspondence. They must understand the letter sound correspondence. To learn to read, children must be able to figure out the relationship between sounds and letters. Thus, beginner readers must learn the connections between approximately 44 sounds of the English of spoken English and the 26 letters of the alphabet. So I believe that if I wake you up in the middle of the night, you should be able to explain the disparity between the 44 letter sounds and the 26 letters of the alphabet. Now, moving on, we're going to round up with this. 5 mistakes parents make when teaching children to read. We are going to go from 5 up. 5 says neglecting the challenging nature of the English language. Now, we've already looked at the challenging nature of the English language in the first instances. We've looked at how there's an issue with the letter sound correspondence. We looked at how children are always learning their letters instead of their sound. We've looked at the disparity. We've looked at the inconsistency. So the first thing that the first mistake parents make is neglecting the challenging nature of the English language. If you neglect it, or yours is a case, your child will struggle. Like struggle, really, they will struggle. So please don't neglect it. Understand it and understand how to hack your way around it. After Tuesday class, a parent said to me, okay, ma, okay, if you're supposed to teach with sound, how are we now going to teach children words like bake, B-A-K-E? And I laughed. How are we going to teach children words like cute, C-U-T-E? I was like, this is why you need to join the challenge. It's a code. It's not straightforward. Even beyond learning the sounds, we're still going to get to day 4, where we'll now begin to look at alternative sounds. It's almost as if English is looking at you like this. I mean, you have learned the sound, or you come back. You've learned that J says J. And in the other slide, we're now seeing, let me go back there a bit. In the other side, we're now seeing that DGE is saying J. From where? It's almost like English is waiting for you. Abi, I've learned J says J. You wait for me. I will now go back and G, letter G, G and E together, now says J, like George. George. And it's almost as if you've learned that W says W. But when this same W now comes with the W will now just shut up. And R will now go right. Do you understand what I'm saying? So English is not a straight, learning to read or teaching children to read, it's not a straightforward thing. You don't learn the sounds of the English language and literally just run with it. Somebody's literally going to say after that Tuesday class, I've learned it. You will teach your children CVC words. You might even go as much as teaching CVCC words. But when you now get to the point of learning diagrams, it now hook you. Will choke you. It will choke you. This is why you need a challenge like the Teach Your Child to Read challenge, where we break this thing down bit by bit by bit. How do you explain to a child who you've taught that B says B says B, O says O, A says A, and T says T? So if we're going by that sound, it should say boat, art, boat. But the real pronunciation of the word, according to the dictionary, is boat. How do you explain that? Or coat instead of quat. Or catty instead of cute. How do you explain this disparity? This is why you should join this challenge. If you have not joined, there's a detail scrolling on your screen. Please do justice. And if you have any educator, your friends who you think should be here, please take a screenshot and send to them and tell them that they are missing. So let's go back to what we're looking at, which are the mistakes. Number 2, we'll now look at focusing on capital letters over lowercase letters. Now, to explain this, would simply say that 90% of text in the English language is made up of lowercase letters. 90%. And we know that for uppercase letters, all we use it to do is to start sentences, write subheadings. I think that's about that. If there's any other use of the uppercase letters. So if a child is going to learn to read, majority of their text would be in lowercase letters. But this is my daughter's phonics textbook. I'm going to enlarge my screen now so you see what I'm trying to say. So I hope you could see this. Fantastic. Yes, we could see it. You can see it. I'm trying to focus this. So if you look at that, imagine that a child learns to read. Yeah, so good. Fantastic. Now imagine if a child learns to read using just the uppercase letters. Imagine if a child learns their sounds using just the uppercase letters. Then they come back to start reading, and what they are now seeing are lowercase letters. In this instance of very simple sentences, this is a cat in a box. The cat is fat. A fat is cat. A cat is black. A mat is red, and then like that. Imagine if what you used to teach your child their sounds are uppercase letters. They will now come to meet the everyday normal text that is made up of 90% lowercase letters. There's going to be a confusion. You can all agree with me, right? It's going to be a confusion. So in teaching children to read, our core focus should be on lowercase letters. And I always advise that when you look for flashcards or you are improvising flashcards for children, look for flashcards that present letters this way. The uppercase and the lowercase together, not separately. So when children are learning their sounds, they're not learning the uppercase alone or the lowercase alone. They are learning it together. So they should be able to know that this is the uppercase of this same alphabet, and this is the lowercase of this same alphabet, and this is what they say. Of course, we all know that we don't teach phonics abstractly. So you don't just go around chanting, except you just want to chant. But children must have real life materials that they can experience. So even if you're unable to get flashcards, you can improvise one. A child must be able to see, touch, and feel what they're learning if you're going to work alongside their learning styles. So this is the way any flashcard you're using for a child should be represented. Please ensure. If not, there's going to be a confusion. There's going to be a confusion. So we've looked at focusing on the lowercase letters, on the uppercase letters rather than the lowercase letters. This could cause grave issues for a child. The next is teaching letters in their alphabetical order. This right here is a no-no. Now, I taught this on Tuesday, and an educator came back to me to say, okay, what if I teach in a school where they focus on using the alphabetical order? If it's a system where you can influence change, please change it. If not, work with it. But when children get to the point of blending at age 3.5, when you now want them to start blending, or age 3, depending on how fast this child is, please discard the knowledge of the alphabetical method and focus on the Jolly Phonics grouping. We're going to look at it tomorrow. The Jolly Phonics grouping has, I should have brought this up on my screen. So what I'm going to do is, everyone give me a second. Let me quickly, let me call it up and share my screen. So you guys see what it looks like. So I'm with you. I just need to call up something on my screen. Please give me a second. Let me. So you could use this small opportunity to take a water break if you would be needing it. I want you guys to see what I mean by Jolly Funnies grouping, because there are other programs, but of course I started with Jolly Phonics and I love their grouping a lot. I love the Jolly Phonics grouping a lot. So I'm with you. I just need to I forgot to add it to my slide, but I need it to make sense so you guys see it. Sound grouping. I am with you. Just want us to check in Google quickly. So I'll share my screen with you. Let's go to images. Fantastic. It's up on my screen now. So I'll be sharing my screen in a bit. We're back. I'm back with you. Present, share screen. Yep, I understand. Share window. Okay. So, so guys, let me know if you can see the Jolly Phonics grouping. So please let me know if you can see the Jolly Phonics grouping on your screen now. Yes, so you should be able to see it, I guess. So this is what the Jolly Phonics grouping entails. You should be able to see this is what the Jolly Phonics grouping entails. It's simply, instead of grouping sounds by A to Z, we go the Saturn. We have 7 groups. We have Ata, Ipa, N, group 1, K for C and K, E, H, D for group 2, go O, A, L, F, B for group 3 or group 4. Then we have A, J, O, I, E, O. For group 4, we have Z, W, N, V, U, U, Y, X. I think for group 5, I'm mixing up the grouping now, but we have Ch, Sh, K, Ow, O, U, and R. Now, these are the 44 sounds of the English language. These are the 44 sounds of the English language. And this is how sounds should be grouped. This is how I endorse that sounds should be grouped. Now, I know someone here is going to be asked. So instead of grouping sounds the alphabetical A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, we strongly advise that you do the letter sound grouping. We strongly advise that you do the letter sound grouping. Now, I know someone is going to ask, but it's not readable. Wow, so sorry. Please, can you enlarge it a bit? I'm just sharing my screen. Don't worry. Tomorrow, let me see. This is just Google. Don't worry. Don't worry. Tomorrow we're looking at sounds in its entirety. But I believe that from my expectation, you should have been able to see and make sense of what I was explaining. Yeah? Don't worry. Don't worry. Tomorrow we're going to look at sounds entirely. Get water, drink water when coming to class tomorrow. Drink water when coming to class tomorrow, because we're going to look at our sounds in its entirety, the 44 letter sounds. We're going to look at how to teach it. We're going to look at the multi-sensory approach to teaching sounds. It's going to be very explanatory for you guys tomorrow, so don't worry. But I believe that you understand what I was saying. You understand the context I was making around not teaching alphabetically, but teaching per groups. The reason is this: in the alphabetical order of teaching sounds, a lot of letters are familiar, or rather, sorry, they are similar. They are visually similar. They sound alike, and they are identical. Even in writing, it even confuses children down to writing. In Teach Your Child to Write, I'll explain that further. But I mentioned if you attended Teach Your Child to Write. Even in writing, it could be confusing. For instance, B and D. For instance, B and D. D. This sound can be very confusing. So if we're teaching children letter sounds, we don't bring B and D together. It is confusing. The next one is and They're identical. Very confusing. The next one is P and K. Very confusing. The next one is W and V. Very confusing. Very confusing for children. This is why we say and encourage parents to ensure that in all they are doing, do not teach sounds alphabetically, especially when you are at freedom. There is no structure or system or routine like the school system. Please teach using the Jolly Phonics grouping. We're going to provide this for you. We're going to provide, hi teacher Lola, welcome. We're going to provide this for you in your learning pack. So for everyone who is in the challenge, you're going to get a learning pack at the end of the challenge that has close to 50. I'm trying to make it up for you. The last cohort in 2021 had about 30 something, but this time around they have close to 50 of these materials. So if you have a laptop, or you can what's it called, you could project on your screen, you could use them, you could use these materials. You don't even have to print. If you have a laptop or an iPad that is big enough for your child to see. So second mistake is that when parents teach sounds in alphabetical order, it's a no. We've also looked at focusing on capital letters or over lowercase letters. The best way to teach sounds is to teach them together, explaining the concept in any way that you think you can explain, that this every letter has two things. They have the small one, or my baby is going to tell you, mommy, is it the baby A? Should I write the baby A or the mommy A? You know, that kind of a thing. So we use these visual depictions and examples to explain these things to children. Okay, the next one is ignoring phonemic awareness. Reading is first a listening skill. Reading is first a listening skill. On day 3, we're going to break down phonemic awareness, and you will understand how to teach. If you attended Tuesday class, what I gave you guys in phonemic awareness was just a tip of the iceberg. Now, on Wednesday, when we're going to look at blending, segmenting, and building phonemic awareness, you're going to see how you can build phonemic awareness. But let me explain that phonemic awareness is simply a child's ability, or an adult's ability, or any individual's ability to identify and manipulate individual sounds and words. Before children are exposed to blending, we must dedicate enough time to enabling them and equipping them with the ability to identify and manipulate individual sounds and words. In Jolly Phonics, in blending, one of the things you would always hear is when we give a child a word like the next thing we'll tell them is to listen for the word. We give a child a word like arch, arch, or we give a word like arch. In blending, the first skill in blending is to listen. If a child cannot listen, they cannot blend. I had one of the parents here come to me to tell me that her child was struggling with blending. He was struggling with blending. And I gave her all the strategies, but she still came back for the challenge to say that he was struggling a lot with blending. Meanwhile, his other siblings are doing okay. So I was like, okay. Where this issue is really is in his phonemic awareness skills. So the mom I'm talking to knows herself. If you can build this phonemic awareness skills, if a child struggles with blending, you want to take a pause, because there's nothing you want to do again if you already struggled with blending. If you hear art, because I have a lot of educators ask me, so where is the balance? Yeah? Where is the link between a child? And I struggle with this when I started teaching children to read. So, okay, they know their sounds, and they're saying ka'at, and you're asking the child, okay, what is ka'at? Listen for the word. They'll tell you ka'at is ka'at. They're not able to make, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Please let me see you in the comment section. If you understand what I'm trying to explain further, please let me see you in the comment section. These kids are not able to make sense. They are not able to make sense. If you are here as a parent, your child has learned their sounds. They know their sounds. They are able to blend, but they're not able to make sense of it. They see a word like bridge, br, e, j. They know the sounds, but they're not able to move from knowing that br, e, j would give you bridge. This is a big issue in blending. And this happens because we neglect the foundational skill of phonemic awareness. Now, according to a research, let me bring up that research quickly so you guys will understand. If you're in the group, I'm also going to send you my book, The ABCs of Teaching Your Child to Read, so you could also read that as well. It's also very explanatory. Now, according to a research by, I should have this thing here. Okay, I didn't put up that research here. But that particular research by, I'm trying to remember that university in the US. Oh, P says she gets me. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. P is an educator, so she will understand this. So that link is phonemic awareness by Stanford University. They said that, do you know that developing phonemic awareness is easier for parents than it is for educators? In fact, parents play a significant role in developing phonemic awareness than educators do, because they have a lot of opportunities in the home front to be able to develop this activity, to be able to develop this skill. So the initial step to helping children blend is developing phonemic awareness. It greatly facilitates the process of learning to read printed words or printed text. In fact, in blending, phonemic awareness is the first skill. And with this, it is something you can do at home, whether it's by reading to your child, playing oral rhyming games, talking to your child and drawing attention to words, doing daily activities as your child helps around chores at home. You can do phonemic awareness activities. So if your child is struggling with blending, like Victoria has given a thumbs up, thank you for that response, Victoria. If any child you know struggles with blending, this is it. This is a troubleshooting. This is the point where I troubleshoot. This is it, phonemic awareness. So ignoring phonemic awareness can be a major reason why any child will struggle with reading. So we have come to the end of the one class, which is introduction to teaching children to read. As a quick recap, we mentioned that teaching children to read simply involves learning a code. And this code is the correspondence between letter names and letter sounds. So I believe that if you're able to run with it, if you're just able to run with this, if you're able to go home to quickly, if you're able to go home, quickly begin de-emphasizing alphabets and uppercase letters and emphasizing, from de-emphasizing letter names, sorry for that, to emphasizing on letter sounds, the difference will be quick. And if you have any child that is less than 3, please don't introduce the alphabets to them. It's going to cause that confusion. It will cause that confusion. So this time period is for your questions. So I know you have questions. This is a class. I know we've looked at a lot, looking at over the past 1 hour, 15 minutes. Auntie Samira says she sees it in children. Yes. So building phonemic awareness. We'll look at this a lot on Sunday, which will be day 3. We're going to break down phonemic awareness bit by bit. So you know activities you can begin to do per age. I love to divide activities per age. So a parent with a 1-year-old knows what to do. Personally, what I did for my daughter in 2020, she hadn't even started talking. She wasn't making any speech sound at the time. Probably she had just one word. But what I did, I just learned this, yeah? And for everything I gave her, I'll always say, what is the sound in ball? And it's so amazing how children are able to pick something as this up, as little as this up. It's amazing how that child you're thinking with your 1-year-old, you're giving them an apple, you go, here is your apple. Let's not forget what we looked at in the beginning, that early reading makes children smarter because it uses up more neurons in the brain. Reading is a number one skill. Reading is a number one skill. So a lot of time when people think about teaching children to read, they look at it from the perspective of bragging. I want to show that my child is this. I want to show that my child is that. No. The reason why we teach children to read early is because, number one, it helps, it fosters brain development. So we've come to the end of day one. Let me know how this class was for you. Give me the bomb moments for you. Give me one thing you heard that was an eye-opening session for you in the part of day one. And finally, let me have your questions. Do you have any question around what I have shared so far? Please feel free to leave your questions in the comment section, and I'll be quick to respond to them. Let me have your questions. Let me have your bombshell moments. Let me have your bombshell moments. Let me have your questions. As soon as I can get to at least 3 questions, we'll call it a night, and we will be back tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow learning the letter sounds. Look, please, whatever you're doing, don't miss anything. It's always difficult. It's always difficult trying to catch a replay. Trying to catch a replay, I can tell you this, it is always difficult. So if you can't join the live class, I would strongly advise that you do that. If you can't join the live class, I strongly advise that you do that. So I'll wait for the questions while we call these a night. And also you're to give me your questions, number 1. Number 2, give me your bombshell moment. One thing you've learned today that you would go back to quickly implement. One thing you will go back to implement while I go on a water break. As soon as we come back, I'll be looking forward to your questions from this session. Thank you. Okay, so I want to assume that we don't have questions. So if you're in the 3.0 group, please feel free to drop your questions in the group as we call it a night. Okay. Esther says, thank you very much. You're welcome. Ole says, I can make sense of what you're saying. Thank you so much. So Esther, what is your take home for today? What was your bombshell moment from this session? Feel free to share with us. Um, Oluwabomishola says, yes, I understand. Thank you for that feedback. P says that reading is a listening skill. So I think it's time to call it a night. I realized that I'm taking this time because I realized that a lot of us, a number of us rather, what's the word now? Uh, uh, what's it called? I'm trying to find a word for it. We are backward. Is that a word? There's a lag between the studio where and the streaming. So there's a lag. So when I'm a lot more faster than you guys. I'm a lot more faster than you guys. You see, this is when the comments this is when the comments are coming in. So yes. And if you get to watch the replay of this session, please do not fail to leave a comment. Thank you so much, Peace, for being here. Thank you so much, Jamila of Life and Destiny. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you so much, Peace, for your help this evening. Um, yes, it makes sense. Yes, it absolutely does. Esther says every learning to read starts with listening, not decoding, not reading proper. It starts with listening. Every learning to read starts with listening, not decoding, but listening. So I guess it's time to call it a night. Thank you so much for being with me. And for those of you that are in the challenge, those of you that came in from the back door, this is it for you. Tomorrow we go live. Tomorrow is going to be such an exciting class. This is my favorite part of teaching people to read is when we begin to learn the sounds. It's usually very hilarious, especially when you go home with your tasks and you have to send in a recording of you saying your sounds and we have to correct it. It's usually very hilarious. So see you by 8 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday, when we begin to learn our letter sounds. God bless you and thank you for being here with me. If you get to watch the replay and you have questions, please feel free to drop it in the comments section and I will always come back to this. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, as of today we're about 140 subscribers. Yay! We have about 40 subscribers this week because we're just 100 as at Tuesday, and that's really exciting. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. You should find it somewhere on your screen. I think you're down there. Please subscribe to it so the family grows. If you're here just for today, you could share this video. From tomorrow, it's going to be for only the amazing parents in the challenge. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you and have a good night rest.